there's a video that you're going to watch, it's got to be this one. Why? This is going to be a very important update for the Bitcoin holders. And I'm not saying it just to get you all scared. It's because tomorrow is the CPI data, which is pretty much going to dictate if the markets are going to go up or they're going to come back down. Welcome to Traders Reality, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bring it all for you right now to let you and get you prepared for tomorrow's critical CPI data. So if you are new, hit the like button and subscribe, man. It's free to do. Let's get with the flavor. In front of you is Bitcoin's price action right now. Seeing a nice little move away from the actual Asian session high right here. But that's not what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about this bad boy right here. 30-year yield is coming in at 5%. Now, the article is going on to say that if tomorrow's CPI data does come in higher, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a problem. Word on the street is that the S&P could fluctuate any direction, either 1% up or 1% down. Now, 1% up would be accumulation from institutional investors, so that's a good thing. However, 1% down means there's distribution, so there's going to be a lot of selling. Now, going into the article, it's pretty much saying about the wholesale inflation data that came out today, which was great news. But we're going into tomorrow's data, which is at, of course, the beautiful time of 1:30 p.m., which is when the cash markets usually open. That means the bond market starts trading just 10 minutes beforehand. So that will be around 20 past 8 in the morning Eastern Standard. 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard is when the actual data comes out. Now, pretty simple is this. If CPI comes in higher, we've got a problem. The stock market will actually drop. The 10-year yield will effectively end up going all the way up towards, I believe, around 5%. I do believe it's going to hit that 5% mark tomorrow if the inflation data does come in and upsets everyone, because the stock market right now is waiting on the Fed's behavior. Today's data gave you an insight into inflation coming lower. Okay, that's brilliant. So what's the market doing? It's going up. With that being said, I managed to exploit this move on the NASDAQ just only a few moments ago. I shared in the Discord that NASDAQ was preparing for a W formation, had just under £10,000 in this account, and we're currently in a £9,000 profit on taking the low right here on the NASDAQ, a little W formation right here to effectively end up seeing the move to the upside, which is roughly where you see the VWAPs. But more importantly, this candlestick right here is a red vector candle. You take it over to, and this is a live account. Look at the top. I ain't saying no demo, but going into it all, we'll go to the NASDAQ quick time and you can see that she's come back up towards this red vector candle. Go to the 1 minute time frame, and this is how I use the hybrid system. There's the W formation right there, coming back up towards the red vector candle, which was what should have been one zone that I thought, let me just close off and take some profit. But instead, I thought, let me hold onto it, trade back to the moving averages, and then, of course, anticipating that she can make her way over towards the daily open and come out, hopefully, with a decent day. We can manage, 10 grand day, 10 grand sterling. That's a good thing for me. But given that the euro and the pound have been taking a smack, I was better off actually trading dollars. But never mind. With that being said, quickly going over into Bitcoin's price action, it is starting to show promise of marking higher, but this is really for the holders. Now, check this out. Going into the future, listen to this BS. You've got SEC chair, good old Gary. He's turned around and he said that Bitcoin, he's compared Bitcoin to gold. So brilliant. Thank you very much. Keep on feeding it. All of a sudden, this guy is favoring Bitcoin. But look at this. JP Morgan CEO insists Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. All right then, but wait there. What's this about JP Morgan? Well, JP Morgan are so heavily invested in blockchain technology. With that being said, going into this, they're now turning around saying that XRP ETF and Solana ETF could effectively plow with investors' capital. Around $8 billion could come into play once that actually happens. We can see it says here, according to estimation by JP Morgan, exchange traded funds for Ripple's XRP could attract a remarkable inflow ranging from $3 to $8 billion. Wonderful. Let's go over and have a look at XRP for a split second before we dive into Bitcoin price action and why it's such an important update for the holders. Now, look, XRP has managed to come away from the $2.66 mark. That is very, very good for us. Go to the 4-hour time frame. Now, listen, I'm going to say it to you again, all right? If tomorrow's data does show that inflation has slowed down only because of what's going on over here with today's data regarding the inventories and the PPI itself, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin will surpass the 100K point. Bitcoin will explode to the upside if inflation comes down, because if the reading comes in tomorrow and says that it's coming down, investors will say that means the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates. That is great news. It means that inflation is actually coming down. This reading is the most anticipated reading for Bitcoin holders. So let's just get with the price action of Bitcoin to break it all down for you. Holders right now, you've got to be very mindful. On the daily time frame, you've effectively got a decision to make. And that decision is this. Do you hold on to your position or do you add to it? Do you get involved in spot on trading the volatility that if the CPI data comes in tomorrow favorable for everything, Bitcoin will make the move to the upside? Okay? The red vector candle could come into play. So you might even want to take a small position right now with the idea that potentially Bitcoin could be coming back up towards the red vector candle. Once it makes its way back up towards this range right here, then you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to reevaluate it. If you see Bitcoin going back up towards that point before the CPI data, that is before 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard tomorrow morning, then you'll be in a situation where you say, look, I've got X amount of profit here. Bitcoin has effectively moved up nearly $7,000 all the way up towards that 102 region itself. If you're not happy with that amount of return, then what are you doing in this game? Really, what are you doing in the game? Are you here to make money? Yes or no? Now, with that being said, if the data tomorrow says that inflation has gone up, then Bitcoin might actually have a bit of a problem. But is the market skewed towards that direction? Just because we saw the data today coming in saying that the core PPI came in lower, it does give investors that sense of security that, okay, maybe inflation might actually be coming down. Going into Bitcoin's price action, I'm going to give you a level here. Bitcoin, in principle, for holders, has to stay within this range, and that's around the 50 here. It has to stay within that point. And I marked it off this morning for you in the live stream. All right. I was actually a little bit more, well, we're talking about this range right here. If Bitcoin can sustain itself within this cloud and continue up and tomorrow's data is good, Bitcoin will go and attack the 100K point. Now, as a holder of Bitcoin, you've got to say to yourself, are you going to take profit as Bitcoin goes up to this point or not? Because if you're not, and then you run the risk of CPI data coming in saying that inflation has gone up, yields will shoot up to 5%, the 10-year, okay? The stock market will drop aggressively. At the same time, there will be a good reversal back up, but it will be lower. So you've got to be very careful with it. Maybe this move that happened yesterday was the trap to get people to believe that Bitcoin was going down. If you didn't buy alongside all these dudes down here, then you'd be missing out on a nice return on Bitcoin. Looking at the order flow, you can see that there are guys wanting to sell Bitcoin. 19 million to be sold at 98,590. There's a possibility that Bitcoin is going to run towards this zone. Looking at the NASDAQ and the S&P right now, let me just quickly look at my position. 11,500 pounds. That's doing all right. I'm going to leave that, but I'm going to close it off by the time I'm done with this video because I don't want to leave profits in the chart. It is marking up pretty aggressively, and we're going into the start of a new 1 hour candle. Don't like to do that. Actually, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, we're going to get rid of this. Why leave? Done. Happy days. Finished. There's my entry. There's my exit. All right. We pay ourselves. I don't care what it does. I've caught a good entry, W formation, shift out to the upside. Don't be greedy, man. Pay yourselves. And that is an example of it right there. Okay. Now, that's the question you got to run with yourself. If you do see Bitcoin get to a point, if it gets to a point where you've generated a return, take some money off the table. You've effectively got yourself, I'd say, around 15 hours or so before Bitcoin actually makes a good move. And if it can continue the move from now going into Asia this evening, because Asia will also respond to the fact that we've had great data, okay? Then take some money off the table. As I said, for the holders, you've got to ask yourself, if you are in spot positions right now, make sure that as price, or should we say, get closer towards the CPI data, make sure you're reevaluating your situation. Are you going to take profits? The higher Bitcoin goes, the more relaxed we can be. But if it stays within this range, you do run the risk of being caught in the volatility. Just in case CPI data comes in higher, you've got to be prepared. You're either going to buy Bitcoin on a discount or you're going to be in a drawdown and you're not going to like it. I'm not here to scare you. I'm telling you that it's going to be 50-50. whatever side you are on, you are making money right now on Bitcoin being on spot and you've got yourself a nice bit of profit, take something off the table. But if you're going to risk it, just remember the NASDAQ or the S&P can drop 1% in tomorrow's reading if inflation goes up, but they can also increase 1% if inflation comes down. If you are new to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this does provide you some guidance. Be sure to like and subscribe, guys, because tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day. Take care of yourselves, gang. Mad love and respect.